But welcome everyone to the Spotlight on the I'm First Guide to College. My name is Vanessa Ramirez and I am with COE. I'm very excited to have you here with Matt and Francis and Jason, and he'll do an introduction of who he has with him and who he is. But first, before we begin, I want everyone to know that this session is being recorded and you will receive a copy of the recording along with the slide deck. He has a nice little surprise for you at the end as well, so keep an eye out for that. And just to kind of keep things moving for the chat box, those are your quick comments that you want to share, maybe with the entire group. For the questions that you have about programming or the book itself, or questions for Francis and Jason or Matt, please put those into the Q&A box, which you will find at the bottom of your screen, or maybe it's hovering at the top of your screen. Please put them in there because the chat, as you can see, moves very fast, and we'll be able to monitor your questions better in the Q&A box. So again, the session is being recorded and you will receive them shortly after the session processes. So without further ado, Matt, I'll hand it over to you.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Vanessa, and thanks to COE for having us again. My name is Matt Rubinoff. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer at Strive for College and the founder and editor of, the founder of the National I'm First campaign and editor of the I'm First Guide to College. I'm pleased to be joined today by my esteemed colleagues from Virginia Tech, Fran Clark and Jason Purrier, who you will hear from shortly. A quick run of show. We've welcomed you, and it's awesome to see in the chat how many corners of the country we have represented, and thanks everybody for making time out of your Wednesday to be with us. I'm going to do a brief overview of the I'm First Guide to College, turn it over to my colleagues to give kind of a case study on how they have been utilizing this tool in their programs. Going to share with you how you can order the book with special discounts courtesy of COE, and then we're gonna have time for some questions. So without further ado, I'm pleased to introduce you to the I'm First Guide to College, the only college guidebook designed uniquely for first-generation college-bound students to help make their college dreams a reality. This is a book that we've actually been publishing for going on 13 years now, since 2013 under the I'm First brand identity, and since 2016 as an initiative of Strive for College when I'm First and Strive merged. And for the past 3 years or so, we've really enjoyed our partnership with COE and seeing how so many Upward Bound and education talent search programs have been successfully adopting this text for their work with students, and even better that you guys can get it at a discount because of your COE membership. But in a nutshell, the concept for the guide was to tailor the college search and application process or planning to the unique needs and interests of low-income and first-generation college-bound students. And so the book is really broken out into 3 sections. The first section is an interactive college planning and preparation curriculum. It includes articles, activities, worksheets, and quizzes within 5 units. Sprinkled in throughout that section 2 are first-gen voices. We have supported a group of first-generation college student bloggers on the imfirst.org website for a long time, and we've adapted a lot of their blog post content into articles and sound bites that you'll find sprinkled in throughout the front section. There's also a fully bilingual English and Spanish section for parents and mentors. We really find it's important, even if you're a student who is lucky enough to be part of a TRIO program, to bring families into the process as much as possible. And for first-gen students, especially students whose parents aren't native English speakers, it's hard for them to be positive influencers in supporting their students' pursuit of college. And so the parent and mentor section has great content around helping family members or mentors be part of the conversation with their student and understand the process, dispelling common myths. You can see the image there, the screenshot as an example. So certain schools or programs that are interested in better engaging parents and families will find a lot of use from that section of the book. And then the third is our collection of profiles of colleges, universities that partner in our program because they care about supporting first-gen students on their campuses and have great programs and opportunities to support them. So I know it's hard to kind of see this example probably on your screen, but what's unique about the college profile in our book compared to many other college guidebooks out there is that we try to get beyond the general admissions information and kind of flowery language about the Gothic architecture and beautiful campus, and try to bring to the surface really important information about what's in it for me as a low-income or first-gen college student on a given campus. We want to talk about those important campus programs and student support services and financial aid opportunities that exist for students. Is there a summer bridge program or a first-gen student organization or a peer mentoring program? Do they have diversity or first-gen scholarships or other kind of living learning community type opportunities? We're really about coaching students earlier in the process to take that deeper what's in it for me approach to their college search and ultimately selection of where they're choosing to go. We want to help students think beyond the traditional factors that guide the college search, like size and selectivity and location and cost and academic areas of interest. All of those things certainly are important, but for the first-gen student, it's our belief that that's really just the tip of the iceberg, and we want to, as early as we can in the process, be helping students think more critically about okay, getting in is one thing, but persisting and graduating is really the goal. And so I want to apply to schools and choose a college that I know is going to be supporting me once I get there, and to know about those programs and support services earlier in the process, even before you apply, let alone choose where you're going to go, in our view, is a best practice. If you're applying to colleges kind of unaware of those opportunities and factors, and you choose a college and show up the first day and only then are kind of looking around and trying to figure out how you're going to be supported and successful there, that's too late. So hopefully that makes sense, and the information. This is also information that when you visit a college's website, is often buried if it's there at all. And so we get a lot of good feedback about how, we're consolidating and collating this information into one place across a couple hundred different campuses, and it really helps students and those who are supporting students learn a lot. I wanted to just go a little bit deeper into the student workbook. It seemed like the best way for you guys to get a clear visual of the pages was going to be just to kind of crop a section of it. If I tried to capture the full page in a slide, it was going to be small and blurry. And so this should give you a sense, but the point that I just want to drive home is that, within the college planning curriculum, there are articles that correspond to very specific activities or exercises. And so here you see a Why College article that relates specifically to an assignment or an activity to reflect on and write about why is college for me in the workbook. There's information about high school course planning and going above and beyond, and then a worksheet where a student can map out their high school courses. There's an article about goal setting, and similarly an activity to help students plan backwards and set short-term goals. And then at the end of each unit, there's a quiz that relates back to information that hopefully students have learned from the content in that section. There's some multiple choice, true, false questions, maybe some short answer or fill in the blank type of questions as well. And there's an answer key included in the book so that students can check their work, or advisors, staff can do that as well. So that is kind of a deep look into the I'm First Guide to College. And now I'd like to turn it over to Fran and Jason to tell you a little bit about the TRIO programming they're doing at Virginia Tech and how they have successfully utilized the I'm First Guide in their work with students.
Thank you, Matt, for having us today. I'm Fran Clark. I'm the director of Virginia Tech TRIO programs on campus, and we are blessed to have 4 of the federally funded educational opportunity programs. We have 1 talent search and 3 upward bound programs, so we're all pre-college. Well, at least majority of pre-college. Talent search can serve some other students too, so it's a little bit different there. But our talent search and our upward bound Southwest are 2 of the most long-standing programs in the nation. So we do have a rich history in serving our community and our region. And the way that our programs are structured, in total, we serve 903 students in the Southwest Virginia region, but our area is about a 2-hour radius all the way around our home campus in Blacksburg, Virginia. So we're lucky to be able to serve a very diverse and broad community. We have students who come from very rural communities in the mountains. We have students who come from much more urban environments. We have students who are not just first generation college, but first generation to the US. Students from varying, sexual identities and gender identities, to students of different religious and just about anything that you can think of with intersectionalities and all the different ways that we identify ourselves. We have students who have those different kind of backgrounds and experiences. So one of the things I do want to say is we found that this has been a resource that has been helpful for students from all walks of life, no matter what sort of issues that they may be facing in their personal life. There's something in this book that can help them overcome those obstacles to hopefully enrolling in the fall, which is, one of our main objectives, right, is overcoming academic, social, cultural barriers to higher education and really making sure that our students enroll in post-secondary education, but also are successful in post-secondary education. And we do feel that this book has been a really helpful resource with the students that we've been serving. So our talent search student serves, the bulk of our students serves 680, Upward Bound Southwest 103, and then our 2 other Upward Bound programs, which are actually embedded in the high schools in Salem and in Roanoke City, serve 60 each. So why do we use it? We use it because we feel that it's a great resource. It's with the COE discount, it becomes very affordable to use. And the more that you order, the bigger the discount it is. And so, that's just a very, basic level when you're thinking as a director of, how you're going to spend your resources and your money, but it is definitely affordable in that way. And I'm kind of at the bottom of the slide, kind of flipped a little bit. But I will say it's a comprehensive resource. It has information that's not just, a lot of the things that we put together in the program that we use for students, it's right there in a resource. But the thing that makes it unique is it's not just a curriculum and it's not just a college search guide. It's both together. And so we've been able to use this in this time period when students are Zoom fatigued and really internet, unless it's playing their favorite game, or scrolling through TikTok, they're wanting to take a break from being online. And this allows students to do some college searching without having to go online. It eliminates the need for, figuring out what the internet access is in the family. We know that most students have kind of figured that out by this point in the pandemic, but there's still students that struggle with getting clear internet access. Not everyone has it. Or if they do, they get bottlenecked with a lot of folks trying to be online at the same time. And this allows for a college search process to take place in another way. We do feel that it's also really, it's ready-made curriculum to introduce into programming. And it's something that you don't have to spend a lot of time and energy to put something together because it's been done for you, but it's really high quality. And it's the kind of thing that, many of our professionals would want to put together if they had the time to really sit down and put it together. But we like the flow of it too. We think it makes a lot of sense. And we'll talk a little bit more specifically in a minute about how we've integrated into our programming. So jump right in. So for new admits, we've been sending this out to all of our newly admitted students in the program. So for Talent Search and Upward Bound. And while that may seem like a lot for Talent Search, we found that it's been incredibly valuable and beneficial for all of our students to have it straight off the bat. We do implement it into our monthly program as well as into some specific activities. And having that as a resource for all students is great. We used to hand them out when we see people in person. Now it's all through the mail. We invested in some, I don't know if you've sort of fabric envelopes that you can get from the Postal Service. We actually special ordered them from one of our vendors because we found that when we put them in a regular paper envelope, when they were being returned, the envelopes weren't holding up very well. So if a student moved and it was sent back to us, or if a student moved and had to go through, not just from Christiansburg to Greensboro to back and wherever their stations were with the postal services, it has to go through multiple hands. We found that the fabric envelopes were worth the investment, and they're keeping our investment in good shape when it makes it to the families. We usually take the plunge for first class postage. But you can send them through media mail if postage is a concern. But we have felt it is a worthy investment for all of our students to have this, particularly when it is much more difficult for us to track students down in the high school right now and hand something to them and really get that personal connection. This is a heavy duty quality resource that we feel is worth the time and energy of getting it into the hands of our students as quickly as we can. So once students are newly admitted, this is part of their welcome packet, is that they'll get the I'm First guide. We've sent it to juniors as a planning resource. We've used it specifically in a Saturday session with a senior boot camp for Talent Search and Upward Bound seniors to work through different activities and make sure they thought through financial aid and some of the other areas that are in there, even what to pack. There's, what to pack to bring to college. And for Upward Bound for summer program, we've used it in a life skills class. We've used it for work study and virtual campus visits as kind of a combination of putting together in the curriculum. And then Talent Search, I forgot to add this one to the slide, has also implemented it into their curriculum. So Talent Search has created their monthly curriculum through Adobe Spark web pages. It's just a way to be able to have curriculum all in one nice, neat place with different links outlined. And so on the different topics that we have available, so like one of them we've done is financial aid. So on the financial aid monthly curriculum, we also linked to the financial aid section of the I'm First guide. So all of the students should have the book, so they should be able to refer to the book by page number. But Matt graciously gave us all the copies of the PDFs last year since we were working virtual. So we were able to link them to the PDF too as well, so they could get right directly into that section of the book. For Upward Bound, for summer work study, we created a virtual work study that was diving deep into career exploration and career theory, and basically, who are you? What do you like to do? What are you interested in? What are you good at? And how does that translate into a career and a major? And so with the progression that we have of the work study, they spent the majority of the time really exploring careers and career assessments on personality interest inventories and things like that. We send them on a deep dive through the Occupational Outlook Handbook so they can connect their interest with careers. And they can also look in the Occupational Outlook Handbook at what careers require for education, what the normal working environment is, all that sort of good stuff. And then we have that section and move them into Unit 2 of the I'm First guide, which links how to find the right fit for college. So once you kind of figure out maybe some options of things you want to do, how do you look for it? How do you make the right choice? And we've spent quite a bit of time trying to figure out how we're going to work this out. We offered virtual campus tours last summer, and we'll definitely be doing some of that again. I'm sure Jason will talk about that in a minute. Through uvisit.com, where you have free tours and also tours of campuses campuses that have their virtual tours online. So last year we had them connect the how to choose the colleges to the virtual tours that we took. This year, I think we're going to switch to a little bit. We'll still give them that option to use the tours that we've taken virtually, but also we want to encourage them to dive deeper into the institutions in the back of the book, because we know that these institutions are schools, colleges, and universities who have said that they value students who are the first in their families to earn a college degree on their campus, and they want to do everything they can to support them. And so that's really important to us, right? The best way for us as pre-college programs is to make sure our students make it to the next level and earn their degree is to connect them to campus resources. Hopefully a student support services program or McNair, but since not every campus has those programs, or not even all talent search students might be eligible, we do want to make sure that our students are connected to as many resources as possible to help them, get to that final destination of earning a college degree. We like, again, going back to the internet, the fact that it's a hard copy book. I think we've taken a step back from a lot of the internet emails and, texting and things that we've done, because we've been finding that sort of the old school way is having a better response with a lot of families. And it's just a nice resource that students can leave in strategic places around the house for their family members to see information that they want them to read. They can pass it to their friends. It really is, it's not just a resource for that particular student, but it becomes a resource for their friends and their families. And I'll go ahead and address now a question that we've gotten in the past as far as if we order now, would it still be relevant for next year? Yes. So even though, they update the guide every year, and so we purchase every year, we get new ones, and we feel that it's beneficial to pass that off to our students. But if you're a program that has carryover now, and who doesn't, then it would be beneficial to stock up as a resource, and they would still be, even if we get to the 2022 guide, and you still have 2021s in your closet, that's okay. The updates are beneficial, and they're worth it for us to get it every year, but you don't have to worry that if you get a whole bunch now and you don't get through them all, they're not going to be irrelevant if it comes to next year. So this is a great way, I think, to use some of that carryover funding. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jason, who's our associate director, and he can talk to you a little bit more about some of our other activities and the benefits that he's seen with the guide.
Hi, everyone. Like Brandon mentioned, my name is Jason Pereira, and I'm the Associate Director for the Upward Bound programs here at Virginia Tech. So I have the pleasure of having day-to-day oversight of the 3 Upward Bound programs and making sure that our students' needs and their families' needs are being met. And the I'm First Guide is a really great resource to do that. And what I'll do is I'll talk about conversations that I had with students pre-COVID and then also during COVID to help differentiate some of the ways that we've used the I'm First Guide, pieces of which Fran has already mentioned. But when we're in person, when we're in schools, the I'm First Guide is a really great resource to have on hand because for trio professionals out there that are not embedded in schools, when you go in, that internet is not always accessible to you in the schools. So pointing students to resources when you're sitting there in guidance or in the cafeteria or in a classroom is not always at hand. It's not always easily available to you. The I'm First Guide is. It's right there, something that you can point to, you can guide students through, you can have conversations about. And like Matt and Fran have said, the information is targeted towards the students that we're serving in our program. So it's, like Matt mentioned, it's not just the flowery language describing the college campus and the history behind it, which, we know that it's important for our students to get exposed to that, but it's also important for them to know what's there for them, to allow them to be successful, to find a place and space on campus that works for them. So previously, when we were in person, students liked it because it wasn't something that was on a screen. Because even pre-COVID, a lot of their work through Google Classrooms and Blackboard, if that's what their teachers were using at school, a lot of it was moving online. So this was a resource that they could use at home, they could share with their siblings and friends. And, I haven't seen it as much during COVID with virtual work, but before, like, students would just take pages out and just hand it to their friends, like, hey, use this. I don't need it. I've already covered this section of the book. So it's a great way to just hand stuff out and disseminate knowledge throughout the community. And like Fran was mentioning, for UVisit, when we're doing our virtual tours, we can use the curriculum to complement what we're doing and what we're asking students to explore. But as we all know with Zoom, there's Zoom fatigue, and then there's internet connectivity issues. So there'll be, our students will have signal interruptions during Saturday sessions. And if we're using the I'm First Guide as a part of our college tours, they can still follow along. They're not missing information just because their signal gets interrupted from the internet going out. And they're still able to keep up with what we're doing. During COVID, it's something that students have talked about. It's nice just having to hold in their hands. Our students are getting inundated with email messages and text messages, and everything's coming to them through their screens. And for a lot of my students this year, it's been really overwhelming. And they've checked out of a lot of email communication. It's taken letters home, phone calls, where we can and have been able to get into schools, doing some in-person visitation, but having, again, something that they can hold in their hands, that they don't have to go to a screen for, that they can read in their own time, either before they go to sleep or somewhere removed outside. If they want to get out of their house, they can. It's easy to carry with them. It's not, even though it's a lot of information, it's not a heavy book. So it's something that you can bring along with you outside of the home as well. And it's timely information for juniors and seniors. We're most worried about our seniors this year. I'm sure a lot of you are feeling the same way. We're not sure if they're getting all the information they need from their high schools, because we know guidance is overwhelmed in high schools even more than they usually are with COVID. And having the I'm First Guide in their hands, we know that they have a resource. That's something they can go to if they have questions. If they can't reach us or guidance, it's something that they can use to work through issues on their end and guide themselves also through this process. So it's something that's definitely been useful pre-COVID, during COVID, and it's a resource we envision using as a part of our curriculum post-COVID as well, when a different normal is in place. For staff, for new staff and more seasoned staff, it's useful. All of our new staff that we bring on board, and on the Upward Bound side of things, we have more new staff than we might want. We have a lot of staff turnover, which can be good, but it can be hard to keep a team together and everything cohesive, especially when we're all virtual. But the I'm First Guide is a great introduction to the language of college access, again, that is pertinent to our students and their families. So even if somebody's coming from admissions, if they are coming from admissions and they've only worked at one place, they know the language that's particular to that college or university. The I'm First Guide gives them language and gives them profiles and information about many different institutions all over the country. And that's what we need in our capacities to better serve our students and their families. We have to know a lot of different information, and instead of going out and searching through different websites. And like Matt said, some of this information is really hard to find. You have to dig through different sites and go to different centers on campus and find the right person. The information's already there. Matt and his team have done the work for you. So for a new professional, it's great. Resource can help them on board very quickly. For more seasoned professionals in TRIO, we know that admissions, particularly with a virtual environment where on-campus visits aren't possible, it can be hard to get the right information to our students at the right time. The way that the I'm First Guide is structured is that the curriculum is there. And if you can mail something to your students, you can get this information to them. And then they can use it to help inform their college search process. As seniors, at this time, well, May 1st is already passed, but in April, when they're still trying to decide what school is the right fit for me, this guide also serves to fill in some of the gaps. If they can't get to that person on campus, particularly right now when they're not able to visit, the information is right there for them to use. And it's the same thing for professionals. We get those updates. We're not able to take our students on college tours and get all this information that we normally would. So the I'm First Guide has been just as useful this year for our staff, not only taking care of curriculum, spend time designing it, and then figuring out how to implement it within our programming. It's already there for us to use as a team. Overall, there are role play scenarios that you can walk through.
We lost Jason there for a second.
We've both been
He's
having
back.
internet issues today.
So speaking
It's
of
our
Zoom,
weather. Yeah,
this is
right.
This is a really great point. Sometimes you get disconnected, sometimes you're not able to connect back in. And again, if you have the curriculum both for students and staff, it's a great resource for them to have on hand.
And I would just add to what Jason is saying, that we feel that the way the I'm First Guide is put together, it's very student friendly graphics and language and pictures, and it's really inviting to come in. But one of the great resources from Unit 2 that we like to use, talking about new professionals having to kind of recreate the wheel, but it's got a college comparison chart in there. And that's one of the things that we always used to have to make up one. If we were going to take students to a national college fair, well, let's pull out, that Excel sheet and let's create a college comparison, and, that they can walk around and fill out. Well, it's right here in the book. There's one that's already made. So if you're not sure about what to include on something like that, or what would be helpful, it's just another example of something that's already done. And that's really helpful. And I think we touched on a little bit earlier, but I think that the bilingual section for the Spanish has been incredibly helpful for us. We do have some school systems that require, like any information we send out, we need to have translated. So applications and things like that, we need to have translated in Spanish. And so being able to have that as a helpful resource has been incredibly beneficial for our families who need that.
Fran, Jason, you guys are the best. Thank you so much for joining us again and painting the picture of how valuable this resource can be for TRIO providers. I know that you guys are all kind of chomping at the bit now. How do I get my hands on this? And so this is how you can place your order online through our store, or by emailing us to request an invoice. I did want to point out that at our store online, there is a PDF preview of the guide available there for you to take a little bit closer of a look at the inside contents. The preview includes the entire first unit of the guide and sample pages of the other sections. I wanted to highlight what the 5 kind of curriculum units are broken out into. The first unit, as we we shared some visuals of is basically I'm college bound, setting that college bound mindset, goal setting, planning course, high school courses, etc. The second unit, as Fran spoke to, is about finding the right fit. Unit 3 is on applying to college, college essays, some helpful information about the Common Application and other application providers, testing and test optional content is included in that section. Unit 4 is paying for college, so everything you need to know about financial aid and scholarships. And the 5th unit is we call making my college dreams a reality. So it's kind of that that transition to college. So good, helpful content as you're kind of sending your seniors off, in budgeting for college, in packing for college, in other pieces there are escaping me at the moment, but a lot of good content there. And then I also wanted to kind of drive home, and I appreciate you making this point, Fran, that we've invested in making this a very visual and colorful and engaging tool for students. So it's very different from other college guidebooks that are more of your black and white kind of phone book. The front section is 4-color. The college profiles are 2-color, but that's proven time and time again to be worth it, worth the cost to us, because it helps students engage with the materials and want to come back to this resource. So with that said, you can see on your screen the special COE discounts that are available to you, and the special prize that Vanessa teased at the beginning. And thanks for you attending the presentation today, is that we're going to give you an extra 5% off when you order before the end of the month, May 31st. So those same codes will work. It'll just give you 25, 35, 45, 55% off, respectively. And hopefully that's a nice token and incentive for you to get those orders in. Part of the reason we're doing this now is the timing just works out with our fiscal calendar, and so we're a June 1 fiscal year and closing out our 2020-21 fiscal year as we speak, and so we'd love to accommodate your orders in the next couple weeks, but if you need to wait, that's perfectly fine as well. And those specific codes will continue working for you. It'll just adjust back come June 1 to 20, 30, 40, and 50% off, respectively. So I think that brings us to the Q&A portion of our presentation, and it looked like we had a few questions coming in already. Now would be a great time if you have a question to type those into the Q&A widget.
Okay, so the first one that I saw was in the chat, and it says, hi Matt, I have already ordered my guides for my talent search program at Tallahassee Community College. We are hybrid with services right now and into early fall. Is there a way to get PDFs that Francis mentioned, or even to purchase them?
Yeah, thanks Sabrina for the question, and thanks for placing your order. Send us an email. We have been accommodating the request for a digital version of the guide on request during COVID, understanding how online learning and delivery of the materials has become so critical for schools and providers like yourselves. So What we've done is provide access to a watermarked PDF with very specific permissions not to share or reproduce or replicate the content outside of your organization. And so, yeah, by request, that's something we can accommodate. The goal and idea, obviously, as Fran and Jason illuminated, is, and the value here is in the tangible and physical book. And we hope you, can see and understand that. We won't be offering the PDF version forever, as hopefully life and work and programming gets back to normal and primarily in-person instruction. But we're still in the pandemic and want to be accommodating. One thing that we're not quite ready to announce per se, but we've been exploring and is something to look out for in the future, perhaps, is an online course built around the I'm First Guide to College, and so that in the future would most likely be the way that you could access and utilize this content in a virtual learning capacity.
Thank you. Okay, so the next question is, in what ways are the 2020 versions different from the 2021?
Yeah, thanks for that question. And maybe Fran and Jason, as users, you could highlight some of the differences you've seen. But every year we add new colleges to the book. Sometimes for various different reasons, the college will drop out of the program. So the college profiles will change from year to year. And then we're also, keeping the front section content up to date and trying to fill gaps or holes and add new content to the front section as well. We haven't done kind of a huge rewrite or update of the front section curriculum in a couple years, but I know this year, like for example, we have an expanded article on test optional because that is continuing to boom and a trend across the space of schools moving towards test optional admission. We have some different partner organizations that are sharing information about their programs. The First Gen Honor Society, Tri Alpha, comes to mind. They have a new article spread in the book this year that wasn't there last year. We've been partnering now. We've been partnered for a few years now with the Common application, but we've just newly been working with the Coalition application as well. So there's an article spread that highlights their platform and their member institutions. Those are just a few kind of new wrinkles to the 2021 edition that come to mind.
Francis or Jason, do you want to add to that?
Good. I think you got it. I think I covered it.
The next question says, I noticed that there are no Hawaii universities, public or private, listed. What is the reason for that?
Yeah, I appreciate the question, and I'm glad I have a chance to kind of speak to that. The schools that are featured in the I'm First Guide to College are partners with our organization. They have taken the steps to apply to be part of our program and to be featured in the book, along with other benefits and services of our program. So we are not a rating or a rankings program. We're not saying that these are the best or the only institutions for first generation college students. It's a selection of schools who have taken specific steps to reach out and to join our program. So we would love to invite any and all Hawaii institutions or other institutions that you don't see featured in the book to participate. There's a short online application. Most of our partnerships are led by admissions offices, but not exclusively. So if there's somebody else on your campus, and sometimes it's even a trio director who says, yes, we want, we don't only want to use these books for our Upward Bound and Talent Search programs, but we want to make sure our school is also a featured college, and they'll be the champion to lead this effort on their campus. And so I'd encourage all of you guys who are looking at using this tool, if your institution is not already affiliated as a college partner, to help make that happen, whether it's pursuing the application yourself or bringing this to the attention of the right administrators on your campus to say, hey, we need to do this. Like I mentioned, most of our relationships are led by admissions offices because a lot of this is kind of outreach and recruitment related. But we also work with marketing and communications departments, diversity offices, student affairs. More and more, we're working in the persistence and career planning space. Since we merged with Strive for College, Strive runs a national online mentoring platform, and students who historically have been in high school and looking for help with their college application process can connect with mentors through our UStrive platform. But last year we expanded into persistence and career mentoring for the first time, and campuses are very excited about how this can be kind of another place for students to find the help that they need with succeeding in college and planning for careers. So from that perspective, folks on the student affairs, student support services, career services side of the desk are also kind of learning about us and taking it upon themselves to get their institution involved. There's more information on the striveforcollege.org website about college partnerships and where you can find the online application. And it is an institutional partnership. So independent of who kind of champions this effort and completes the application, there's an opportunity to bring in staff from different departments to have a hand in this work, and to not only make sure your institution is featured in the I'm First Guide to College, but can take advantage of the other benefits and services of our program.
So that kind of leads into the next question. Is there a fee to become a partner?
Yes, it's fairly nominal. There's two partnership options in the $2,000 to $3,000 range, but it supports the production and distribution of the I'm First Guide, in addition to selling the book to high schools and school districts and college access providers. Our college partners help sponsor the book's distribution to partner to their partner high schools or CBOs. It provides access to the UStrive platform and the mentoring opportunities, and there is there's other kind of professional development and collaborative learning that goes into what we're doing in support of college partners as well.
Which just reminds me, Matt, when you're talking about community partners, it is something that when we've had some of the older books, when we moved on to newer versions and maybe had a couple left over, one of the things we decided to do with them was to send them to our local libraries in our community. Yeah. With information like just a little label or a sticker, Virginia Tech Trio programs, it's in there. So, it still goes to good use. It's not in the recycling bin, and it's out in the communities, and it's not in the communities connected to us as a program. So, it's not going to be a maybe a high volume recruitment effort, but it definitely is we feel is a community support effort, and just even getting it in the hands of librarians, they become more familiar with who we are and they become a better referral, word of mouth for us. So yeah, just another interesting way that we've used the book, particularly over the past couple of years.
Love that. Yeah, thank you, Fran.
Okay, I do not see any more questions at this time. If you would like to also raise your hand, you can do that. We have about 9 minutes left. So if you want to raise your hand, I can unmute you so you can ask your question.
And while we're waiting too, I'll say and answer a question that we've gotten before is, you feel the book would be relevant for transfer students. And I think even though the book is written with the first-time freshmen in mind, I think there is some relevant information that if you have a student that's transferring from community college to a 4-year program could still be helpful, particularly that finding the right fit section. A lot of the same questions you have to ask when you're a senior in high school looking to start college are very similar questions that you still have to ask if you're a transfer student looking to move over. So I do feel that they would be beneficial for that population.
Yeah, thanks for adding that.
All right, I don't think we asked which programs are present, so maybe we can get a feel for that as well. What program you're coming from, and which program you would see yourself using this for.
We didn't mention EOCs at all, but I do feel it could be beneficial for a lot of the EOC programs that are out there, depending on the clientele that you're working with.
Christy says that they use it and love it. Christy, do you mind if I unmute you to share a few words of why you love it?
Yeah, I think primarily because, as was already said, it not only helps our coordinators who are just starting off, just have really good access to information and insight, but if your school doesn't have good resources with internet, it not only helps with preparing the plans, our trio plans for services, but you have right there at your access services anytime the internet or other resources don't work out. You're never at a loss for resources and access to information. So that's how we primarily utilize it, and that's one reason why I personally love it.
Thanks so much, Christy. Which school are you with?
Tarleton State University, and I do work with UB, but I'm the assistant director to the ETS program, the talent search.
Love it. Thanks so much.
We did not pay Christy to say that. Thank you, Christy.
You guys have been, yeah. Yeah, you guys have been awesome partners, COE, and we're just, even before we kind of formalized this co-marketing relationship, we saw so many Upward Bound and talent search providers finding the book on their own and using it successfully, that it seemed like a no-brainer to kind of align through the National Association to help more programs know about this tool and be able to access it at a discount. So we're happy to highlight a few examples of how it's being used today, but it's few of several hundred now TRIO programs that are using this book successfully. American River College just recently bought 1,500 books to give out to all of their students, and I know they reached out to Fran to just kind of get an endorsement before placing a big order like that. Yeah, you know, it's just a win-win-win all around. And if anybody has lingering questions or wants to learn more before placing the order, you can reach me at help@imfirst.org. You know, otherwise to request an invoice or place the order online. Yeah, we're just happy to be supporting you and supporting students, and thank you for the work that you guys do for students, especially this past year. I can only imagine the challenges and obstacles, but it seems like there's some light at the end of the tunnel, and happy to be kind of one piece of your puzzle for college access and success for first-gen students.
Thank you. So we are at 1:57. If there are no other questions, we can give you back 3 minutes of your time.
Beautiful. Thank you again, everyone.
Thank you, Matt, and thank you, Francis and Jason, for being here.
Thank you for having us, and thank you everybody for joining us today.
Happy to be here. Thank you all.